Everybody, a final as the Kings homestand continued with a loss to the Celtics, 113-95. Certainly a very good team. We knew that going in. You don't have Monk. You don't have Carter. I mean, you knew that you would beat Boston up pretty good at the Garden earlier in the year, and you don't normally do that twice to this Boston Celtics group. Tough second half, Ryno.
Yeah, really tough second half, Grant. It is difficult to beat any team when they make 11 more threes and get 9 more free throw attempts than you.
Yep. Well, very good point. And this is a game when you don't have a lot of scoring with Monk. You do get Sabonis back. And again, the guy does his double-double. He had 17 rebounds. He made 6 of 10 from the floor. But you need DeMar DeRozan and Zack LaVine to carry the load offensively. And I don't know what the hell's going on with LaVine. I really don't. I just don't understand it. I watch him shoot. We're talking about a very good three-point shooter. And again, tonight he was only 1 of 5, Ryan.
Grant, I don't even understand how you start to get LaVine going at this point. I think he's more of a liability with the ball in his hands. I'm going to show some pictures of that here in a few minutes. And just the decision-making there, not good. And he's not even coming off screens well, Grant. I mean, things that are all what we consider fundamentals.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, I'm not on vacation, but thank you very much for saying it would be okay for me to go on vacation. You have Oklahoma City tomorrow. Does anyone think that the Kings are going to beat the Thunder tomorrow?
No. And Grant, you dropped under 500 for the third time this year.
Yep. I don't think you're going to get back to 500 this year.
I'm not ready to say you're not going to get back to 500, but I'm starting to look behind us and say, are the Kings going to make the play-in, Grant?
Well, I'm keeping an eye on that game between Phoenix and Milwaukee, which is going down to the wire. Dallas won today. Anthony Davis came back. With 9 seconds left, the Suns are leading the Bucks 106-105. So, this could be a dreadful night for Sacramento. Remember that the Kings have the tiebreaker over Dallas, so keep that in mind. Dallas has a relatively easy schedule compared to Sacramento and Phoenix. The Suns' schedule is very, very challenging. So we need to kind of wait, but they also play Sacramento to wrap up the year, and that could be one hell of a big game.
To be a huge game, last game of the season.
What do you think of what I said? I don't think the Kings are going to be 500 because I think they're going to lose tomorrow. And then I think the road trip, I see losses at Orlando. I see losses at Indiana. I see loss at Detroit. I see loss at Cleveland. I'm sorry. I just don't have the confidence that they're going to be able to beat those teams. I think that the Portland game will determine whether they win 41 games this year. If the Kings lose at home to Portland, the game after Oklahoma City, they will not finish 500 this year.
Yeah, you make a good point. I guess it really becomes a question of 1, can you get LaVine going? 2, does Sabonis stay healthy? 3, does this illness of whatever's going through this team makes its way out of the locker room? And ultimately, can the Kings beat the Kings instead of playing up and down to the level of their competition, Grant? It's a big ask. It's a big ask.
It has to be pretty significant when Monk, missed 2 games with a day off in between. That's got to be a concern. And if he does come back tomorrow, how much strength is he going to have? I don't know what type of illness we're talking about, but I can't imagine he's going to be 100%.
Sure. And here's the other thing, Grant. Let's assume the Kings do make the play-in and they kind of limp in. You're coming into the play-in most likely with no momentum whatsoever. You have this brutal homestand. You go on an East Coast road trip, and then you've got 3 Western Conference games at home.
I don't know how Sacramento could possibly win 2 games if they're the 9th or 10th seed. I just don't see it. I could see them winning the first game, although I wouldn't bet on it, but I don't see any way that they would go on the road and win the second game against either the Clippers, the Warriors, or the Timberwolves. I just don't see it.
I don't either. And funny enough, if they were to win that game, I could see them possibly doing okay and being competitive in a 7-game series. As crazy as that sounds.
Not against Oklahoma City. I'm sorry. I don't like the matchups. I mean,
fair enough.
I just don't. But again, I don't think we're gonna. I would love to have that conversation, Ryan. I hope we're sitting here, around April 20th, talking about the Kings and the Thunder. I hope we're previewing that series. I mean, that would be phenomenal. But based on what I'm seeing, and again, I take into account the Kings lineup, and they've had guys out, and I get all
Yeah.
of that.
Yep.
But I got to tell you, Ryan, there's nothing about this team that would give me confidence that even when healthy, that they could win 2 games to get into the play-in.
And it's very fair. I think the 2 games that you point to just make your case, you don't have to say anything else. Cleveland, Chicago.
Yep. Yep. I mean, what a difference 24 hours can make. And you look at the future of this team. We're not just talking about this year, Ryan, because fans keep on looking at the future and they look at the contracts. And I don't know what the Kings could do free agency. And, it's very difficult to predict. But I got to tell you, Zack LaVine right now has got you worried, doesn't he? Aren't you worried about Zack LaVine?
Completely worried. Now, the one thing that I'm holding on to is that you get a true point guard, you get a distributor, you get somebody that can help Zack LaVine out. In fact, let's go to Ryno's whiteboard really quick, Grant. This was a play in the 3rd quarter. Zack LaVine, we've got 2 pictures on your left-hand side. Zack LaVine had just rejected 2 ball screens and was pounding the ball. The shot clock looks like it is about 6, maybe 14. Can't see exactly. Okay. Here's what happens. Zach ends up dribbling. Look on the right side, y'all. He dribbles himself into a double team. And actually, he dribbles himself into a triple team because the out of bounds line right there. And it was a hapless turnover at a time that you didn't need one. Shot clock at 6, excuse me, Grant. That's how much he was pounding the ball that possession. So any hope for Zack LaVine as a playmaker in open space, I don't see it right now. I just don't.
And Phoenix just went ahead 108-106 with 1.7 left on Devin Booker's 19-foot jumper. So the Bucks will inbound the ball with 1.7 and have a chance to either win or tie the game. We'll keep you posted. So, and the Suns are starting to play better all of a sudden, right?
Grant, they hit 24 threes against the Kings. That'll get a team going.
Yeah, they beat Cleveland. They beat Chicago the night before Chicago went to Sacramento, and now they have a chance to beat Milwaukee, something that the Kings were not able to do.
Did you see that Chicago score tonight?
I did see that score tonight. Yeah.
Telling you it's real. The Kings karma is real, baby. Come get you some. You'll go on a 3 or 4 game run.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is. And the sad thing about this is this would be a tolerable loss. I don't think the Kings played terrible. It's what you would expect, especially when you are missing players. Had things played out differently before this game. Jerry said at halftime, this team should have been 3-1 coming into this game. And he's absolutely right.
Yeah, well, we've been saying that a lot this year. Should have been, could have been. And they just haven't done it. They didn't do it under Mike Brown, and right now they're not doing it under Doug Christie. And when you get to the latter part of March and you look at the standings, you can't afford to have losses like you had earlier on this homestand. They come back and bite you, They come back and bite you. It's all over. The Suns beat the Bucks 108-106, Ryno. So both the Mavericks and the Suns win, all right? The Mavericks win at Brooklyn. The Suns win at home against Milwaukee, 108-106. So when you look at the standings right now, and they haven't even been updated yet on a lot of the websites, but the Kings are 35-36. Dallas now is 35-37. They play the Knicks next. And Phoenix is 35-37. So remember, the Suns game just ended. That would not be updated. The Suns, the Mavs, all right, and the Kings all have the same number of wins. How about that?
Incredible. And 3/4 of the Mavericks team was injured, Grant?
Yes.
3/4. And you traded Luka?
Yep. Ryan, the Kings' point differential now is plus 0.4.
So they're just a tad above average, even though they are under 500. That stat never lies, Grant.
Nope. And it never lies. And so the Kings are either going to be playing, in all likelihood, Golden State, the Clippers, or Minnesota. A team that's really struggling right now, and they've got big issues, is Memphis. And the separation between Memphis and the 7th seed is 3 games. I doubt that Memphis, with 10 games left, will lose 3 games in the standings to these teams. But keep an eye on that. I wouldn't mind playing Memphis if you win your first play-in game. They got a lot of problems right now. They're not playing well. They got some dysfunction going on in their locker room. Golden State's 41-30. The Clippers are 40-31, and Minnesota's 41-32. I always tell people this. At this point of the season, only look at the loss column because teams have played an uneven number of games. The loss column is a lot more important right now. So keep in mind that Sacramento has 36 losses, Dallas has 37, and Phoenix has 37, but also understand that Sacramento has the tiebreaker over Dallas. So if they were to be tied at the end of 82, the Kings would get in.
Kings would get in. I think the storyline that I'm going to pay attention to the most is what we saw after last game from Keegan Murray's comments, Keon Ellis's comments about the ball stalling out. Both of them came out fairly hot tonight. Keegan 5 of 11 from the floor, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc. Keon 5 of 7, 2 for 4 from beyond the arc. But then you look at DeMar DeRozan. 9 of 24, Grant, 0 of 4 from beyond the arc, and he only got to the free throw line twice.
Yeah, see, that's the part that is odd to me is the last part. I understand guys are going to miss shots. I get that. When the Kings were talking about stats, right? You like stats. You like their free throw shooting this year had improved incredibly.
Right.
And part of that was DeMar DeRozan, right? And we kept on talking about the difference in the Kings' free throw attempts and percentage, Ryan, for the first couple of months of the season, right?
And we did.
We're talking about what happened to that, you know?
I think part of it is DeMar is being forced to create a little bit more rather than being put into spots where he gets a couple seconds to operate and goes up. Instead, he's pounding the ball. And I think as a whole, the team is not playing nearly as aggressive going to the rim.
I would agree with you that. I think
that makes a big difference. And to your point about the free throws, attempts now are only up 3.7%. From last year. That number was much higher before the All-Star break. Yeah,
it was much higher. Hey, Sunrise Landing in Calusa. You go to calusasunrise.com and you'll get all the information you need on Sunrise Landing. If you're thinking of a move, check out Calusa. I think you would love this development, Sunrise Landing, with beautiful models and no Mellorews, no homeowners, good access. So it's easy to get no matter where you live, I-5, Highway 20, Highway 45. And remember, adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Go to calusasunrise.com. That's calusasunrise.com and get all the information you need at Sunrise Landing. And Ryno, I always ask the fans to help me out with a rant for Grant. I'll be doing that a little bit later in the show, brought to you by EDH Motors. That is a rant with Grant coming up a little bit later.
Looking forward to that. All right, we've set the table for you. Now your time to eat. Dirk, kick us off.
Hey, guys. Man, that first quarter, it looked like the Kings had something. And Grant, you speak like you have no confidence in this team, and I agree. It's just like whenever they find something that works, you have to trust they're going to get away from it and go to ISO ball again. So that's why I have no faith in this team. But totally baffling game by Zack LaVine, like completely ineffective first quarter. I counted 6 turnovers, and most of them were, Ryan, you could have taken footage of any one of them, and it would have just been as aggravating.
100%.
Very interesting stat they showed during the game of all the top 3-point shooters in the league. I think that Keon Ellis, I think, is up there like 5, and he's got somewhere in the range of like 230 or something attempts. Zack LaVine has 430 attempts, something like 100 more attempts than any other 3-point shooter. Does this look like a guy who's shooting 400 3-pointers up to this point?
No.
How can
and the basket is the same height, it's the same size, it's the same league. I'm mystified by it. I don't understand it. I don't think anybody understands it.
It's a shooter's gym. Everybody comes in and shoots well at the Golden One Center. Grant, his first quarter line, he played all 12 minutes. He missed 2 shots and grabbed 2 rebounds.
Yep.
To Dirk's point.
But that's, I mean, I guess this is the strongest point I can make. Like, I don't understand how we can't get this guy more 3-point shots. Like, take 10 a game. I'd be happy with it. You know, he shoots well enough. I wish DeMar could somehow figure a way to give up some of his to give Zach some more shots. We have to figure this out, or it's just, this is nothing.
First of all, you know, I would also like to say, I like to start for the Kings tonight because all too often we talk about how poorly they start the first quarters. Although on this homestand, I've been mystified by the third quarter more than the first quarter. Like
yeah,
you know, but you got to remember the NBA is always going to be a game of runs and flurries where you're going to go on 8-0 runs, even against good teams. You're going to build up leads. I've talked about this, Dirk, since October. Well, I've been talking about this for a couple of years. I judge good teams on consistency more than results, because if you're consistent, the results will be there. The inconsistency of the Kings from game to game and quarter to quarter is just too much for me. And I don't know where the solution lies, although I agree with Ryan. I think getting a bona fide point guard will really help. And that's another reason why I would fire Monte McNair at the end of the season. His inability to see that the most important position in the NBA is point guard, and he has ignored that, to me, is worthy of not retaining his job.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I want to shout out both Keegan and Keon's defense this whole game. I thought they were just tremendous in the first quarter. I think just playing with two guys that are just so lackadaisical wears on them. Keon did have like 3 turnovers in the fourth.
Yeah, I think he got a little bit tired.
Yeah. Exactly. And they were looking so good. Like,
well,
Keegan looks like a winning
Appreciate
player,
it.
you know?
Thank you.
Thanks, Dirk.
Well, I think he's part of the solution a lot more than he's part of the problem. I can tell you that.
So coming into tonight, Grant, the last 8 games coming into tonight, Zack LaVine's plus minus is negative 11.9.
Wow.
11.9. And here's a bigger question. We keep talking about bona fide, legitimate 3-point shooters that now come to Sacramento and have trouble shooting threes, making threes. Is this a Sacramento problem? Is this a system problem rather than a player problem, Grant?
It's a point guard problem. I don't want to make excuses for guys that miss open threes, but you ask any shooting guard in the NBA, you ask any small forward in the NBA, you ask any good player in the NBA, or if you look at the teams that are in the top of the standings in the NBA, the first position you look at on almost every team is point guard. Now, I know in Denver you would look at Nikola Jokic, but they're not anything without Jamal Murray, okay? You look at point guard, and it is mind-boggling to me how we keep on talking about this, not only game after game, Ryno, but year after year.
Year after year, Grant.
But Ryno, let me just, you know this because you played and you've watched a lot of basketball. Shooters, it's extremely important that shooters get the ball right where they want. In baseball, we call it the box. A third baseman, a shortstop, whoever's covering the bag at second on a double play ball, they got to have that ball on a close play right in the window. The ball has got to be in a certain place so that the fielder can catch and throw almost in one motion, okay? Basketball is kind of the same because you don't have a lot of time, Ryno, to get your shot off. I've watched a lot of games after the fact highlights. It's amazing to me how many times a shooter on the Kings has to adjust before they shoot the ball. That makes a big difference, Ryan. It makes a big difference.
Grant, you are 100% spot on. I will never forget Mike Bibby talking about muscle memorization. Starting point right here. That's where he wanted the ball. And you see it sometimes now with Keegan Murray, Trey Lyles. They get the ball right there. It's pure. It's like, oh, there's his three again. So the way that these guys have to reach for passes, and I think it's not just that, it's unexpected passes, Grant. A lot of times you know if a play might be coming your way. A lot of times you're going to be ready and set. and guys get grenades, and it just throws them off. So wonderful point by you. You couldn't be more right.
Well, here's another good point by me. Look at that food. Bennett's. All right. Yeah. Prime seafood and steaks. Actually, it's Brian Bennett's. He's the one that makes the point with the great food. I just talk about it. And I partake when I'm in Sacramento, whether I'm in Roseville or Rockland, whether it's the West Side Grill that I love in Rockland. I go there for dinner. I do lunch a lot of times at the Roseville location. And then I take my son, because he lives near the location on Howe and Fair Oaks, to the Bennett's location in Sacramento. Either way, no matter where you're at, you're going to get the prime seafood and steaks. Don't forget about their reservation at bennettsrestaurants.com, whether it's the brunch. And Ryno keeps on talking about Mother's Day. Don't drop the ball on that. Do not drop the ball on that. Bennett's would be a great place to go.
No doubt about that. Make your mom the rock star and take her to Bennett's. Chang, what's up, man?
Hey, Ryan. I'm just kind of curious because I'm reading the chat, and I think just from previous, night chats, you guys are just talking about the likelihood that Monty's probably going to be let go after this, season. And I'm kind of curious, how does that impact players? Do they kind of feel like, I was a Monty guy, he brought me in. Is that going to increase? Like, is that a likelihood that, hey, I might not have a future here, or
Doesn't
what's
really
kind
impact the players that much. A coach impacts the players a lot more than a front office individual. So it doesn't really impact the players that much. I mean, I think that general managers may come in with a different philosophy, but doesn't normally affect the players. It's the coaches. Look at De'Aaron Fox. He said he left because they fired Mike Brown. Well, De'Aaron to me is one of the main reasons why Mike Brown lost his job. So that doesn't add up to me.
I think that's an excuse, but
yeah, exactly. But generally it's more of a coach than a general manager. Could it affect some people? More agents than anything, because they're the ones that deal with the general managers. But any general manager that comes into Sacramento is going to be a second or third tier guy. So it's not going to really matter.
So I guess my follow-up question is, do you feel that changing the general manager, the GM position, do you think it's going to have a big impact on the Kings, or do you feel like, I don't know, I guess I'm just curious because maybe that seems to be the major change that might happen over the summer.
It's a great question. If I have a chef at a restaurant and I think that the chef's really good, and I have a lot of people that dine at my restaurant and then I don't see him again, I'm going to look at my chef. All right. Monty McNair has had enough time to make this team into a perennial playoff team. And the reality is he hasn't done that. He's done some good things and he should be applauded for that. But he's also made some brutal mistakes, in my opinion, beginning with Bogdan Bogdanovic. And we can go on from there. So I always like to say this: if it ain't broke, don't fix the problem. I think the Kings are kind of broken right now, and I think they need to be fixed. And I think a new set of eyes and a new voice is needed to fix it.
I just think the way that Monty McNair and Grant, he's got an entire analytics team. The way they look at a composition of a team, it's broken. It's off balance. And to me, that's where you got to bring something different in, whether it's more traditional, and analytics are going to be part of the game.
Yeah.
But to ignore the point guard position for as long as you did and continue to add on to the problem rather than try to fix the problem by getting a Devin Carter that is so much like a Davion Mitchell, that is not a De'Aaron Fox, but De'Aaron's not a shooting guard and not a point guard. So good question.
Well, here's the deal about analytics. Okay. Vivek is in love with analytics. When he bought the team, the first thing he did was clear out an entire space at the Golden One Center with nothing but analytics people. I mean, it's unbelievable. Okay. For a team and Daryl Morey, by the way, is the king of NBA analytics.
Right.
And Monty McNair worked under Daryl Morey.
Right.
So I'm not into analytics like you are. I think they serve a purpose, and I don't think that they're a waste. I think they're useful, but I use my eyes more than I use analytics. But in this case, the analytics and my eyes show me a different story than how the Kings have utilized Keon Ellis. And so why would a team that relies on analytics so much, whose owner is analytics happy, have all of those numbers in front of me that you point out on a regular basis, as do others, and yet they don't utilize them. What's the purpose of analytics then?
Bingo. That's the $1 million question that we can't answer. That's the exact question. Why is he not on the floor at the end of the game? Why does he only have 7 shots tonight?
I mean, it just doesn't add up to me. If you're going to be, and by the way, most teams are analytic driven. All right, baseball, we see it in sports now. All right, it's just we see it in the NFL. How many teams go for it on 4th down now, where they didn't used to do that? Why? Because the analytics tell them, and blah blah blah, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. But why not? But the Kings analytics department, they provide all the information. The analytics department doesn't run the team. Their job is to provide the information.
Okay.
What's being done with the information, Ryan?
Well, I think, Grant, you just hit the nail on the head. The analytics are being used by other teams and other sports for plays. The analytics are being used for rest and, how to practice guys. In this case, it either is or it isn't being used for roster construction.
Right.
You don't see that in other sports, Grant.
No.
I mean, maybe the Moneyball A's when they went cheaper with players, but to not have a traditional point guard on this team is insane.
Well, this homestand, which started off so promising, now looks like it could be a disaster.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Kings win tomorrow. I'm not saying that they can't, but I don't think they will. And I think the Portland game, quite frankly, is a toss-up.
Oh, yeah. The way Portland's been playing?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
think it's a
Portland's
toss-up.
big, too. They
Yep.
cause problems.
Yep.
It's almost like we saw this problem. You remember we were looking at the numbers before De'Aaron Fox was traded, and we're like, look, this lineup plays really well together. It's more balanced, right? And we dug a little bit more into it, and it's like, well, maybe it's the style of play, the guy that De'Aaron is, which is nothing wrong with him. It's who De'Aaron Fox is. And then the Kings double down and bring in somebody that's just as similar, if not maybe a little bit worse, in LaVine.
Answer this question. Grant, I'm going to add your name, Ryan.
Yeah.
Grant, Ryan, is it better to keep our first-round pick and not make the play-in or make the playoffs, whatever? But what do you think about that?
Gosh, I've been pondering it for 24 hours. I truly believe getting your pick is more important, Grant. How about you?
Right now, I think it is in this regard. The chances of winning more than a game as an 8th seed against Oklahoma City to me would be slim. Winning 2 games to me would be a phenomenal achievement, and then you're done. It wouldn't be good for Monty McNair, and it probably wouldn't be good for Doug Christie, because I think if the Kings are not in the play-in, I think Monty McNair will be fired the day after the season or shortly thereafter. And I don't think it would be fair to have a new general manager come in and not allow that general manager to hire their own coach. And I'm not anti-Doug Christie. I don't think right now at this juncture of his career, he's a quote-unquote NBA head coach. And I'll add it this way. I'll use this analogy or this example. If Doug were let go at the end of the season and all 30 teams, including Sacramento, made coaching changes, I don't think Doug would get an interview at any of the teams in the NBA. He might someday, but in my opinion, it wouldn't be this year. If you're going to hire a new general manager, and I doubt it would be Wes Wilcox, although you never know. I know. A new general manager should have the autonomy, should have the right to hire their own coach. And if they don't, it has no chance of working. The general manager and the coach have to be in sync. They have to be locked in step. They have to be hip to hip. They have to have the same philosophy, the same mindset. They have to be able to communicate. They have to be able to work together. They have to be able to see this, have the same vision. You can't have a new general manager come in and retain Doug as the coach if the new general manager doesn't want Doug as the coach and think, oh, you know what, it's going to work. It's never going to work.
No, you're right. Let me ask you this. If Doug, before any of this, when he was doing the radio show with you, decided he wanted to throw his hat in and become a coach, whether it's an assistant, whatever it may be, How many teams do you think would have given him an interview besides this team?
0. But I would also say this: when Doug and I used to have these conversations, I said, Doug, you should really try to get into coaching.
Yeah.
Because we used to have a lot of conversations on basketball, and he told me he educated me on things that I didn't know about, and his way of communicating with me that I could understand easily. I'm like, just certain things. And I said, Doug, I told him, I go, you ought to try to get on as an assistant somewhere. You never know.
Yeah.
I never thought head coach, but I thought as an assistant. So I always thought that was his love for the game, his bond with the players. Doug's got a lot of great qualities. I mean, it's not
He
like
does.
the guy, he's got a lot of very good qualities.
Absolutely.
I believe that the players in the locker room respect him. He's got a lot of very good qualities. But I don't think he's an NBA head coach right now. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Don't disagree. Joe, what's going on tonight?
Some Grant, some Ryan. How
Hey
you guys
there.
doing?
Doing well, Joe.
Hey, gosh, man, I'm just so disappointed. I think our chance to get a point guard was the De'Aaron Fox trade. I hate to bring up the past, but it's like what we got back is just going to be remembered, I feel, as very, very terrible. Because I think you could have got Stephon Castle from the Spurs. What do you guys
I don't
think
think
about
so.
that?
I don't think you would have got Steph. They were pretty entrenched that he wasn't going anywhere, but that doesn't mean you couldn't have gotten a point guard elsewhere.
Correct.
That's my thing. You could have tried to find another team at that point, in my opinion, because this team the lack of the point guard. I mean, we've said it this whole show. It's just so
Well,
bad.
in retrospect,
Thank you guys for taking my
thank
call.
you.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
one more thing too. I gotta give credit to Keegan Murray. Last time I called in, I said he wasn't aggressive, but tonight he was good. I actually liked him on the defensive end. I thought he played awesome.
He's normally aggressive.
Thank you guys
He's
for
normally
taking my
aggressive.
call.
Hindsight's always 2020, but I just believe that Kings could
Yes,
have had
sir.
a much better deal if they had waited until the end of the season to trade Doug. I mean, trade De'Aaron.
I agree. And I think that's one main reason, like you said in the beginning of the show, that Monty's going to be fired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey,
Thank you guys.
Appreciate the phone call. Don't forget about New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. They're available around the clock 24/7. Give them a call. Go to sackserviceplumbing.com or newworksplumbing.com, NEWWRXplumbing.com. New Works Plumbing. They are awesome, and they've got a fix for you. Were they just out at your house, Ryno?
They're about to be out of my house.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and they're about to get more work than they know about. So there's a
Tell
Ryno
them-
bomb right here.
Yeah, tell them I said hello.
I will do that indeed. You and I disagree a little bit on this. I think that if you would have held on to Foxy, it wouldn't have been a huge distraction. I think that once the trade deadline passed, things would have settled out. And even if it did, send him off for surgery. And
Yeah,
he's
exactly. And in retrospect, what difference would have it made? You're under 500 now. I mean,
Right.
like it wouldn't have mattered anyway. And you're right. If it had become a distraction, you just go, hey, he's having season-ending surgery. Not a big deal.
Yep. And draft time, things change. I think we're going to see teams flip players much quicker than we're used to with this new CBA as time goes on. But I don't disagree with Joe. It's not trending the right way, but we certainly need more time to be able to judge it. That's for sure, Grant.
Yeah, it's definitely not trending well. And the biggest puzzling aspect of this whole thing is Zack LaVine's play. That's not the Zack LaVine I've been watching over the years. It's just not.
Well, it's just there's no confidence when you look at him. It almost looks like I don't want to be disrespectful, but a shell of Zach. When I think about Zack LaVine, I think about confidence in your face, just pulling up. And it's looked a little more passive to me. Even going to the hoop, Grant, he's a slam dunk champion. He's doing layups instead of dunks. He dunked it tonight, though.
Puzzling. Very puzzling indeed. Kings and Thunder tomorrow. Wow. I'll do a show tomorrow at 5 o'clock. We're not done here. I just wanted to let everyone know. I'll do a show at 5, and then we'll have pregame, we'll have halftime, we'll have postgame. That's coming up for you tomorrow. So we'll do it again, man. We'll keep doing it.
We'll roll it back. One thing that's for sure, we're consistent. We're here. We do 82. We ain't going nowhere.
I tried to. I can't do all 82. I missed a few games last year. I might miss a game or two this year, but not much. You
Hey,
know,
that's what-
and you're good, man. You're able to go solo now. So I'm like, fine if I got to take the day off.
Napes, we're teammates. We pick each other up. See, we
Yeah.
know the right balance. We're puzzle pieces.
That's
Maybe
exactly
we can
right.
teach Monty McNair something.
That's right. And when we pass the ball, it's right there in the window.
Right in the window, my friend. All right, let's try this one. I'm not so sure. Angus, what's up, man?
Yes. Hey, big fan. I've been a lifelong Kings fan. As of late, I've noticed that all the halftime dancers are men now, and I was just wondering what you guys thought about that. And I'll take this one off air.
All right. I haven't noticed. I don't watch, and I haven't been to any of the games, so I can't really comment on that. I would say this. It was a number of years ago when the Kings disbanded the dancers, which I thought was a terrible move because I thought that they did a great job both on the floor and in the community. Very often I would have many of the dancers come out to volunteer at my golf tournament, and they were great. And I got to know several of them and their jobs and their lives. And I thought they did a really nice job. And then boom, and then they brought the hip hop team in, and I don't know what they're doing now. So it doesn't matter to me personally. Like, I don't care what's going on at halftime now. But I don't even know how to answer your question because I didn't know that was going on. I would just say this about the Kings organization. They are woke with a capital W. All right. And very often they do things for the wrong reasons. Instead of having a backbone, instead of having the balls to do the right thing, they cave in to the political correctness crap. But so do just about all the other teams in the league. The difference is Sacramento goes overboard with it.
Yeah,
They go overboard with it.
throws it
You
in
have
your
to do it
face.
now, but they go overboard with it. It's ridiculous. And it starts with the owner. It's ridiculous.
Bring back the grannies. You remember the dancing grandmas?
I used to love the grannies. They were great. The former Sacramento Kings dancers from the 80s and the early 90s, they were freaking the best. Love them.
Bring them back. Bring them back. I'd be all good with that. Baki, what's up, man?
Hey, nice to see you too, guys.
Hey there.
I just want to say that I agree everything you said about Zack LaVine. I don't know why that guy is one of the most athletic guys in this NBA. Not only our roster, but in complete NBA, and he's not using a half of his capabilities. I don't know why. He's just like, I mean, he's around the court looking like not interested in playing the game. So it doesn't matter for him. Are we gonna win or we're gonna lose? I mean, the guy looks like that to me. I don't know. What do you think about his?
Baki,
how-
real quickly, Cody wants to know, how did you like Porzingis tonight?
How do I like Porzingis?
Yeah, he said, Cody wants to know, how did you like Porzingis tonight?
He was great. I mean, I think Porzingis could do more if they needed it.
I
That-
agree with
that-
you. I think he could do more as well.
So I mean, Boston is the team who exactly know what to do in every single moment, because the talent of those guys is that they are always recognize the situation on the court. That's their biggest talent. I'm watching every game, so they always do the right thing. And shooting threes like that, like 50, 60 shoot, it's the tactics. It's not something like you can do the same thing, but you will end up with 10% from the shots.
Baki,
But they
1 through 12, they trust each other. Like, look at Peyton Pritchard. Look at they trust each other. They are a team.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. And not only Porzingis, but they also got some players not playing the games. So it's really, really true champions and true contenders. So I will not be surprised if they repeat this year, even though Oklahoma playing good and trusty basketball. But I think Boston is, I mean, there is knowledge and there is a lot of experience, if you ask me, because when you get to the finals of NBA, or not only finals, maybe the game before, maybe in the Eastern finals or something like that, you need that experience. It's different basketball in the playoff. It's not like this. Okay, this is a catch up, and let me catch just a little bit of this playing thing. My opinion, my final opinion, and I can say now this. I don't need any more to go live into your shows. In no problem. I really don't have anything more to say, because if we end up like 9 or 10, I don't see any chance winning 2 games against those teams. I mean, you need to win. So what people are expecting now is from the Kings is to win the games. So for me, it will be a miracle, because you need to beat number 9, then you need to beat a loser from.
Yeah, we get it. We understand how it works, and I'm with you. I'm with you, Baki. I'm with you 100%. I don't see the Kings right now, Baki, as inconsistent as they have played.
Let me tell you one more thing, because once is that I don't think they can win 2 games consecutive in the play, but also I think they cannot lose 2 games consecutive. So if you get to the position number 7 or 8, then I will favorize them to go to the playoffs.
There's no chance of getting 7 or 8. The only chance they have right now is being 8 by winning 2 games. Thanks, Baki. We appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. They have no chance of being 7. That's not happening. All right. It's just not happening. They're either going to be 9th, 10th, or 11th. And then if they win 2 games, they'll be the 8th seed and play Oklahoma City. All right. That's the only scenario. Let's talk about Connor with Element Mortgage and real estate agents. If you need a lender who works as hard for your clients as you do, Connor is your guy. He gets the deals done, and all you need to do is hit that QR code and you'll get all the information you need, or call him at 916-505-1006. All right. He's going to keep you informed at every step in the loan process and makes the process easy for your buyers. Reach out to him today at 916-505-1006 and see the difference a great lender can make. Lots of experience, great team behind him, somebody you can trust. That's Connor at Element Mortgage. Again, 916-505-1006.
That 8 seed, that sailed away when the Kings lost to the Clippers in LA. That's when that went bye-bye.
Yes.
So
yes.
Here is Zack LaVine after the game. He was asked about the mood in the locker room, Grant. Here's what he had to say.
I mean, the vibe is not good. You know, it shouldn't be. You know, we're not happy with the way we've been performing individually and as a group. You know, the games aren't going to stop us at the point of the season. Now we're you know, it's nut crunching time. So figure out how to get a win. You know, we're playing good in spurts, obviously, but you know that doesn't win you a game. So you know we understand the standings, but we just got to take it one game at a time and figure out how to get one. And we're too far ahead in that, because if you do that, we'll all just keep snowballing like where we are.
Keep snowballing like the way we are.
Yeah, well. Again, tomorrow is a tall order on a 3 games in 4 nights against the best team in the West. And unless Oklahoma City rests everyone, which they've already done a couple times.
True.
You know, if they give SGA, I hear Holmgren's questionable, and they give, you know, then maybe you could steal the game. But Oklahoma City still wants to wrap up the number 1 seed overall, and they can't afford to be throwing away games right now. They'll rest. If they want to rest, they got the final week of the season to do that.
Yeah, and Sabonis, who came back tonight, obviously, Kings down 20 with 5:42 left. still in the basketball game.
How about that?
Did not come out of the game until 2:20 or 2:32 is when the starters finally came out. So your minutes played tonight for your starters: 32 for Sabonis, 38 for DeMar, 36 for Keegan, 37 for Zach, and 37 for Keon. An
And
interesting.
why is that? How come those guys are in the game when the game's over?
I have no idea. Got to ask Doug that. An interesting one here, Grant. Trey Lyles only played 9 minutes tonight.
I know. That's rotation, man. You know, we didn't mention Jake LaRavia's name either, did we, tonight?
We did not. Hey, Grant, this is a good question. Andrew asks, which location for Bennett's? He's taking the wife.
Well, for your wife, I would say the West Side Grill in Rockland.
Yeah.
Or the location in Sacramento at Howe and Fair Oaks. I think that's a better ambiance for dinner than Roseville. I like Roseville for lunch. I've been there for dinner, but it's my lunch spot. Dinner for me, I either go to the Sacramento, Howe and Fair Oaks, or the West Side Grill in Rockland. Both great ambiance, great for dinner.
Yeah, I love all three locations, all a little bit different. Rockland, go to Rockland for dinner.
It's great.
That's where I would go. It's the newest location, beautiful. That patio this time of year, Grant, that's right there
beautiful.
On the side. Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's right. You can eat on the patio as well. But that's what I would do. And tell them we said hello. And I hope that you and your wife have a fabulous, fabulous dinner.
Yes, indeed. Any rant ideas? We're still waiting on some of those.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple of rant ideas, and I'm narrowing it down. But I would like some help from the audience. You know, I would like some help. Okay. I'm all good with that.
How'd you feel about the student manager that got all those NIL deals?
Yeah, well, the NIL to me is slowly but surely ruining college sports. And I honestly believe that.
It's the Wild West right now.
Yes.
Like, you wonder when it's going to get reeled in, and it just makes the NCAA look like a bigger joke every single day.
So Brian says West Side Grill. Let me put the graphic up. Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. So it's not the West Side Grill. It's Bennett's West Side Grill. Thank you very much.
Everybody.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love everybody chiming in. Go to Rockland.
Oh, sorry. I missed that. Put that back up.
Yeah, I was in go to Rockland. I wasn't that impressed with Fair Oaks location. Sorry to say that. Brian's daughter comped my meal. Margot is a sweetheart. Absolute sweetheart. They have the Fair Oaks location, or Howe and Fair Oaks, beautiful private dining room. They've got this gorgeous horseshoe bar.
And I love the booths there. I love going to sit at the booths with with both my boys when we're all together. That's where I go. I love it.
Absolutely. Partition glass that makes it feel nice and private. So they're all different and beautiful. The Roseville location has the nice little market too, where they've got the little pastries and all that good stuff, the coffee. So love them.
Well, I got my rant with Grant, brought to you by EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. David and Adam, just two guys. They're trying to do something different and better. They are looking to sell your vehicle. If you have a vehicle that you want to sell, get in touch with them. They will get it done. Give them a call. You got the email, or you can go to edhmotors.com. That's edhmotors.com. And you'll take delivery if you don't want to sell your vehicle, but you want to buy, and you go to edhmotors.com. You look at what they have. And again, if you do not find what you're looking for, don't worry. They'll get it for you with their decades of automotive experience. And then you'll take delivery at their beautiful auto lounge at the El Dorado Hills Town Center. edhmotors.com will get you all the information. That's edhmotors.com. And you can check out EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined, and a rant with Grant. Well, Mike Bibby, former Sacramento King, is going to be the new head coach at Sacramento State. Good for Mike, good for Sacramento State. But once again, dispelling the myth that when players come to Sacramento, they hate it, that they don't like it. And yet you see Brad Miller, who lives here, at the games all the time. You saw Vlade come back and take a job. You saw Peja living in Sacramento still after all of these years, when he can live anywhere he wants in the world. his kids growing up in Sacramento, going through their education, still has 2 in high school. His son, Andre, doing great at Cal. They love Sacramento. They've made it their home. They lived here. They wanted to be here. Chris Webber opened up his restaurant in Natomas. Is he still being sued on that one? I believe he is, but at least he did it. Harold Presley, Bobby Jackson, Scott Pollard loves Sacramento, comes back all the time. I can go on. And if I'm forgetting a couple of Jim Les, thank you very much. Midwestern guy, Illinois guy. Bradley, Peoria, Illinois. Living here, making this his home. Head coach, UC Davis. For all of you that think, oh, gee, players don't want to come here because they don't like it. Wrong. Players that do come to Sacramento love living there. They love it. They like the airport, easy to get to. The arena, easy to get to. They like the small town feel. They like the weather. They like to be able to play golf like Malik Monk does a lot and others. So for those of you that still have your head stuck in the mud and you're talking about, well, gee, you can't get Sacramento, you can't get players because no one wants to live there. A lot of players love to live in Sacramento, and I just gave you many examples. And if I'm forgetting somebody, forgive me, please. And that's my rant for tonight.
A+. And you know how much Mike loves Arizona. Mike loves Arizona.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
That tells
but he
you
also
a lot.
loves Sacramento. Listen, I'm happy for Mike. I don't know whether he'll do well or not. I don't know. I don't know enough about, I don't know. I like Mike. I've always been a fan of Mike. I hope he does well. I'm rooting for him.
He's done a great job coaching with Mike Jr. and involved in his high school stuff. And Mike has always been great for the kids. I had the pleasure of knowing Mike during his time here in Sacktown. And
if you ever run into Mike, would you please tell him I said hello?
Yes.
I don't have his number. And and if you do run into him, tell him I said congratulations, and I'm so happy for him. I think, and you know what? Maybe we can reach out and get him on our podcast to promote what he's doing.
That would be incredible. I will reach out to him for sure.
I would love to have him on. We can promote what he's doing. Maybe get some pub out there for him. And I love Mike. Big fan. No doubt. Of Mike.
It's great for Sac State too. It's huge. So big stuff.
All right. So what do you got going on tomorrow?
Tomorrow I am off with the Kings Court during the day, but I think I'm going to pop up for a King. Or wait, we got a game. So no Kings Court, only pregame for me.
All right. I got 5:00 show tomorrow. Looking forward to that. We'll do 30 minutes or so, and then Ryan will take over when he comes on at his normal time to do the pregame show, then halftime, then postgame show. It's not going to be easy. The Kings and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Any final thoughts?
No, I'm going to hand it over to you, partner. Thank you.
Do we have anyone that we need to get online, or no? We're all good.
Oh, you know what? Good job by you. We had a couple pop on late.
Yeah, let's get to some calls. If people are holding and they want to get on, let's talk to them.
Yep, I missed the beep. Andy.
Hey, Andy.
How's it going?
Andy, how are you?
Yes. I'm good.
Yep.
I want to use Keon Ellis to show what the problem is with the Kings and why they're going to suck forever. And it's, if you look at the beginning of the season, Keon Ellis should have been playing more because he earned it last year with his defense. You had Mike Brown as the defensive coach, and yet Keon Ellis wasn't playing. Brown gets fired.
Probably one of the main reasons why Mike Brown lost his job.
But I don't think it was his fault. And here's why, is because when Keon Ellis got to play was because De'Aaron Fox went down, and that's, about the time Brown got fired. He played well, but as soon as Fox got healthy, then Keon Ellis's minutes go down. So my point is, with both Brown and Christie, Keon Ellis has not been a starter. Both Brown and Christie are defensive coaches. So what's the problem here? I think the problem is Vivek is saying, I want more offense out on the floor, which brings us to Monty McNair, who I'm not a big fan of. But at the same time, if you've got the owner telling you everything that you need to do, telling everybody on down the line how they need to play players and things like that, Sacramento's never going to be any good as long as Vivek's around.
Andy, thanks for the call. Appreciate that.
It's a good point.
I do think that Doug has pressure on him to play and start Zack LaVine because of the trade. I would just say that. Jerry thinks, and I think you have said that DeMar DeRozan would be an interesting look coming off the bench.
And probably the most logical, if you're going to play the politics side of it as well. I think that you're spot on about some of that pressure that Doug is feeling. Tremaine, what's going on tonight, buddy?
Hey, Grant and Ryno, how are you guys doing?
Thanks for hanging on, Tremaine. I like your setup. Very professional looking. Good job, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I do have a YouTube channel, but we won't talk about that. We will talk about the Kings tonight. I will level with you guys. I do not watch the full games. I watch the highlights. What happens is I don't have cable or anything like that, but I watch the highlights. And what is the deal with the male commentator? I don't know what his name is, but
Mark Jones.
Mark Jones. Okay. He seems like a nice enough guy, but when we're going on the highlights, I'm watching the highlights and he's like, oh, Porzingis, who's probably going to be the 6th man of the year. He is so great. And then it's like, oh, Sabonis gets a basket.
Mark Jones is stealing money from the Sacramento Kings.
Yep.
That's what he's doing.
It's a paycheck.
He's stealing money from the Sacramento Kings. And if you want to know more about Mark Jones, just look at his social media account that he used to have that he doesn't have anymore, I guess, that was on Twitter. But he's stealing money from the Kings. It's a joke.
Yeah, I was like, is this guy secretly a hater of the Kings? Like, he's not rooting for the Kings. And we won't talk about Katie, who talks a lot, but it's not the same without you, obviously, Grant. And like, win or lose, at least we would know where you stand, Grant, because this guy is just, it seems, I'm listening to this guy, I'm like, man, I don't think he even really likes the Kings in the way he's commentating on the game itself. I'm just like, I don't know. I just wasn't.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for taking the time to come on the show. Do it again, would you please?
Yeah.
All right, I will do. Thank you guys. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jermaine.
All right, we'll wrap it up. We want to say thank you very much for your support, all the calls, you're there. Thank you for being there. Wins, losses, it's going to be tough tomorrow, but we're going to do our best to get you through it. And you never know. That's why you play the games. You never know. Until tomorrow, 5 o'clock Pacific, right here on If You Don't Like That. And then Ryno with the pregame, halftime, postgame. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everybody. Bye-bye.